Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Cager on Two Wheels. You want to be alerted whenever anything critical happens? Yes sirree. Let's jump right in. Context: I work on implementing various kinds of enterprise monitoring software. I'm, or my company is, the guys that arrive, install and configure the monitoring solution, train people, and then move on to another customer. This requires a lot of input and back and forth with the customer, as doing and planning everything beforehand is not possible, as customers usually don't know what they want, what they need, and what the tool can do, which are three very separate things. Part of the job is implementing what the customer needs, not what he thinks he wants. This particular customer was getting a full end-to-end solution, from network and server infrastructure to end-user synthetic monitoring. Think scripts that simulate a user to ensure the applications are working at all times, and measure response times. Obviously, this kind of full-on implementation comes from high up, usually the very top of high up. This company is also the kind of company that if anything screws up, it's on breaking news. It is also part government owned, so the higher-ups are not only rich and powerful, they are also connected and political. Now on to the story itself. We are at a meeting with the higher-ups from the company, think CIO, CEO, etc. The CIO in particular is a nasty piece of work. Though he is competent, he has a bad temper, no patience, and is used to people doing whatever he says. He's the kind, "I demand you call me Engineer X" kind of guy. The meeting was a technical one to hammer out some monitoring details. These higher-ups wanted to be in on all meetings to get a feel on how things were going, and make quick calls to get any issues that might arise. A bit over the top, but it happens, and is fine if they only intrude when needed. Remember, this was a tech meeting. The meeting is about a particular component, the network monitoring component. It has just been installed and configured, and we were on the tuning phase, where we select what alerts are relevant, what is critical, which network nodes are critical, and which aren't. A core switch going down would mean 9 o'clock news headlines. Some Wi-Fi router would mean someone would get less network on his laptop. At one point we discuss alerts. One colleague of mine asks, "What do you want to be alerted on?" At this point, all the techs and consultants were a bit tired of the CIO constantly, aggressively, and impolitely telling everyone how things should be done. Mostly stuff he had little idea how it worked. True to form, he interrupts immediately and says, "I want to be alerted by SMS for every critical event that appears." Me and my colleagues try to explain that is not a good idea at all. My supervisor also butts in and tells him that is not what he wants. His response was, "I am the one who knows what I want. I pay the bills. You do what I want. If you do not do what I want, you will feel my breath on your back." We trade a pointed amongst us that read, "He asked for it." I tell him that will be implemented during the day on Friday. We just need the number to send the SMS to. And so it was done. This network solution in particular is notable in the industry for being the best, but out of the box, it alerts for everything. A switch has a fan that is not rotating because it's supposed to be there, but it's not actually physically there, so the readout says 0. That's a critical event. A network port that has an administrative status of up, meaning it's turned on, and should have a network cable on it, but has a link status of down, meaning there's no network cable there, that's a critical event. With switches numbering in the hundreds, and ports per switch numbering also in the hundreds, if not thousands, obviously, network devices going down and things like that are also critical events. The trick is to figure out that for some devices, that network admin status difference to actual link is a major problem, and that for others is just someone lazily turned them all on and didn't actually need to connect them all. Usual procedure is to SMS or email only on nodes going down, throughput going over a certain threshold, etc. He wanted everything. We gave him everything. Turned all the events to forward to the SMS gateway at Friday, 5:59 p.m. Left at 6 o'clock exactly. He received around 500,000 events during the weekend. He tried to call my supervisor, me and my colleague, my supervisor's boss and his boss. Our team had our phones off. On purpose, obviously. His phone received SMSs non-stop every half a second for the whole weekend. Even if we were contacted, we'd need to go physically on site, but our security passes would not allow for that, and we were also not obliged to work on weekends. He couldn't have his phone off due to other duties, so it rang happily through the night. I guess at one point he put it on silent. Come Monday, a very angry and now quite polite CIO came round our post and asked us to turn that off. We did, and his phone kept receiving the backlog of critical events for quite a few days after, 24/7, until the whole backlog on the SMS gateway was cleared. That story in particular is why we now have a strong policy of never ask the customer what he wants alerted on or monitored. He will say everything. Don't we all love when the self-indulgent wieners tell people to do something and it just comes back to kick them in the butt? This is one of the best examples of that I've read so far. CIO tried to flex his muscles, but then got flexed back on by IT. How it should be. Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Who Skewed the Pooch? Reconsider working here if I want to take a honeymoon? Okay, let's jump right in. I had a manager who hated reading emails and would miss important issues and meetings because of it. I even suggested text-to-speech to make it less unpleasant, but he told me off. He spent a lot of time playing golf with clients and was mostly inaccessible. It got to the point where most of the team CC'd me. I was the next on the totem pole, so I could grant approvals for stuff like expense reports and help out on projects my manager was supposed to work on. When I was getting married, I requested 3 weeks off for my honeymoon. Everyone knew I was getting married. Manager even congratulated me on the engagement when it happened. I had 5 weeks vacation accumulated and didn't think it would be a big deal, especially since I was requesting it nearly 8 weeks in advance. Then, a vacation request denied email comes in from our time off system. I emailed manager following up, left voicemails, and after a week, he finally replied to an email. Look, we need dedicated people. If you think you can take 3 weeks off for a vacation, you need to reconsider your position here. Keep in mind, my request stated, vacation request for honeymoon. I replied with, no consideration needed, my last day will be, date in 3 weeks. Let me know about transitioning duties. I forwarded this to HR, CCing the manager, and HR sets up my exit interview. But HR tells my manager to set up transition for my responsibilities. During my notice period, I even replied all to this email twice, asking about transition plans since I didn't get any transition plan. I tell my team, they ask manager what to do with my duties, and manager says he'll think about it, but doesn't do anything nor email anything out. 4 weeks later, I get a call from my old boss. Are you planning on coming in this week? Why would I? Because you work for me? Not as of last week. Stop messing around, get your butt in the office. I told you my last day when you denied my vacation request. How about giving proper notice and transitions? HR asked you to develop a transition plan and to attend my exit interview. It's not my fault you don't read all your emails. I hang up and block his number, but screenshot the call log and sent it to the HR contact with an innocent, should I be worried old manager thinks I still work for him? Fallout. Things went from bad to worse for my old manager. Apparently, I was doing most of his managerial duties, so he actually had to try and get stuff done himself. He also got into some legal issues, those client golf outings, he played golf, but not with clients, that made his termination with cause, so no severance for him. I ended up at a competitor with a nice bump in pay. I wanted to start after my honeymoon, but new company really wanted my help on a pitch. I joined for several weeks, reworking 1/3 of the pitch, and then went on my honeymoon for 3 weeks. They paid me for the entire time off. That garnered a lot of goodwill from both me and my wife. I only left the company because Mrs. and I moved cross-country and they didn't have remote positions back then. Have none of these managers learned that you don't present an ultimatum to one of your workers unless you're prepared to deal with either outcome? In this case, this manager definitely wasn't. It was suggested in the comments down below this one that the proper way to deal with a manager like this is to say, I'll be taking 3 weeks off. You can let me know if I have a job or not when I get back. Our next story today comes to us from Computer1313. Don't order any extra inventory. We use just-in-time inventory. Let's jump right in. At the start of the pandemic, my manager recognized the impending logistics nightmare and that the company's JIT system might suffer from that. Some of the parts used in our manufacturing will run out within several hours if the routine delivery trucks don't show up on time. If our plant is unable to run, the other plant that requires our output stuff will also be forced to shut down because guess what? They also use our JIT system. The department manager agreed with my manager after holding a meeting with the supplier representatives who all told him that they were having their own problems with getting input inventory for their production, along with truck driver shortages and employees calling in sick. The problem was that the inventory audits would fail you if you had excessive inventory, which tied my department manager's hands. Someone in another department took the initiative of ordering extra parts after they started having delivery delays. All it took was an inventory audit and they were forced to correct their inventory levels. Simultaneously, a few of my coworkers that were involved with searching for alternative suppliers couldn't make any headway because the alternative suppliers charged a higher price to make the parts, and the company would not accept that. My department manager promptly put out an email stating that until the corporate HQ changes their policy, there will be no deviation from the JIT system, no matter how many production disruptions we have. By the time the JIT system was revised to allow holding more parts, we had a few weeks of lost production time within a fiscal year, especially when one of the suppliers was hit by severe weather and was flooded. Of course, our parts from that flooded supplier ran out very quickly. One of my coworkers that was in the alternative supplier search found it hilarious because we could have avoided that issue by using an alternative supplier that charged about 10% more for the parts. And the other plant was also forced to halt operations because we couldn't deliver them our stuff. For me personally, I had a project where a vendor straight up told me that they had no idea when certain industrial control system parts would arrive to finish overhauling a station. But I also couldn't deviate from the original project plans because of how much paperwork and approvals are required to use substitute parts. It was a fun time telling my manager, we have no idea when we can finish building this system. Now, I don't have a lot of factory experience, but it doesn't take somebody who's worked in a factory to realize that just-in-time inventory just doesn't make sense, because it counts on everything being perfect. The weather, transportation, labor relations, manufacturing supply conditions, and health conditions considering what's happening right now. I understand that if it's working perfectly, it's incredibly efficient. But what about when it doesn't work perfectly? When there's a hiccup in the supply chain, how much does that end up costing the company? Is it more than keeping some items in a warehouse so that they're ready at any time? Again, I didn't work in factories very much, so if you have, comment down below and let me know what you think. Our last story today comes to us from Razgriz S57. Want me to start my shift 10 minutes later than everyone else? Okie dokie. Let's jump right in. So this happened last year. I work for a shipping company. Boxes come out of a shipping container, get scanned into the system, and put onto a system of conveyor belts. The boxes then come down the belts to a line of workers who remove said boxes from said conveyor belts and load them into delivery trucks. I work at the end of one of these belts. This spot is special because not only do I have to load my own delivery trucks, but I also get the boxes that others missed further up the belt. I have to take these off and put them aside in a special cart for someone to put back into the system later. At the beginning of each shift, we also unload from those delivery trucks the boxes that the drivers were unable to deliver. They go on the belt, I take them off the belt and put them in the cart. Because where I am is at the end of this whole process. We have the time to do this before new boxes get fed to us, and so I have the time to take care of these missed boxes before new boxes get to me. So as you can see, my job starts at the same time as everyone else's. Then, my shift was pushed back 10 minutes. You see, because I am at the very end of this whole process, upper management decided they can save some money by having me start a little bit later. After all, it takes maybe 10 minutes for the new boxes to exit the shipping containers before they would ever get to me. Because their logic is sound, and because the system logs what my start time is, and because I do not start getting paid for my time until then, I decided to wait 10 minutes later than everyone else before doing any work. I warned my belt supervisor I'm doing this, not that he can do anything about it, or had any decision in changing my start time. So now, when the shift begins, several dozen packages begin piling up at the end of the belt. These are often ridiculously heavy packages in crumbling boxes, which the drivers left behind because they didn't want to deal with them. My supervisor has to get someone else who is on the clock to deal with these packages, which annoys them. The guy who moves the special cart to deposit these boxes back into the system is annoyed because he's accustomed to it being ready about 10 minutes after the shift begins. I'm annoyed because I have to deal with this pile up of boxes before I can begin dealing with the new ones coming down the belt. My supervisor is annoyed because this distraction at the end of the belt prevents them from doing other parts of the job until it's dealt with. The managers are annoyed because I'm sitting on my butt for 10 minutes before I'm able to fix this mess. This lasted for about 2 weeks before I noticed my start time was now the same as everyone else's. My only question on this one is, why did it take 2 weeks to sort it out? Were they sitting back and going, hey, let's wait and see if it'll sort itself out? Or, let's wait 2 weeks and see if everybody forgets who caused this mess? I mean, come on. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.